I know you guys have been waiting for this. So, it's time for the pros and cons of Pathfinder 2e classes part 2. Let's get started. So for this video, I'm going to start with the monk. A lot of people that play D&D 5e think that the monk in that system is pretty bad. But that's not the case in Pathfinder 2e. Monks are just as good at athletics as a fighter is. They are also extremely fast. They can be somewhat magical if you want them to be, but don't have to be. At higher levels, their unarmed strikes can do metal damage, unlike other martials. They can also do more damage and give their unarmed strikes traits they normally wouldn't have thanks to their stances. But where the monk really shines is in their saving throws. A monk can have the highest saving throws in the game if you build them correctly. But monks don't get as many critical hits as fighters do. And they get legendary and unarmored defense later than champions do. They're also pretty limited on weapon proficiencies without feats. And now let's talk about the Ranger class. Another class that people from 5e may think is not a good class in Pathfinder 2e. You couldn't be more wrong. The great thing about Rangers in Pathfinder 2e is that they can be as simple or as complicated as you want them to be. Need a simple character that you can just get into the game with? No problem. The Ranger has a great and simple rotation that you can use. Hunt prey, then hunted shot. You could throw in a third shot, but I don't recommend that. There are other things you can do. If you want to know some things in Pathfinder 2e that you can do besides making an attack at a -10, then you can check out this video in the card. But the Ranger can do other things as well. Want a more interesting and complicated character? Rangers are the best snare setters in the entire game thanks to their class DC. Want to be a more wisdom-based Ranger? Rangers are great at recall knowledge options. But Rangers can get boring rather quickly if you build toward damage. Rangers are the best at class DC, but they're not the best at anything else. However, they are good with everything else, unlike some other classes. Now we come to my personal favorite class in Pathfinder 2e, and that is the Rogue. Rogues get a ton of starting skills. In fact, you can be trained in every single skill in the game very easily if you are an intelligence rogue. That's right, you heard me. Rogues can go off intelligence in this game. In fact, they can go off any ability score you want except for Constitution. Strength is Ruffian, Dexterity is Thief, Scoundrel is Charisma, Intelligence is Mastermind or Eldritch Trickster, and Wisdom is Eldritch Trickster. And unlike in other systems, rogues have a ton of ways to get sneak attack damage in this game. In fact, every single subclass of rogue has their own way to get their sneak attack. For example, ruffians are great at tripping foes to make them prone, or even grappling them. And there are, of course, the standard ways of getting sneak attack, which are, of course, flanking and being hidden. But rogues need that sneak attack to do effective damage. They also don't have great class DC. And unfortunately, they have some great options that use it. Rogues can be complicated with all the skills you're getting. And finally, with the exception of the Ruffian, they can't get sneak attack with very many weapons, and they have limited armor options. Okay, time for Sorcerer. Unlike in other systems, the spell list that you get as a Sorcerer depends on your bloodline. Yes, Sorcerers can have any spell list in the entire game. Occult, Divine, Primal, and Arcane are all available to them. You also won't have many spells to deal with, which makes the Sorcerer great for new players. Sorcerers also have great focus spell options, as well as great bloodline powers. Everybody forgets about the blood magic effects, but some of those are good. But the bloodlines can be a little bit difficult to understand for new players. And of course, the flip side of not having many spells to have to deal with is that sorcerers aren't very versatile. You're also not going to get a whole lot of skills. And like most spellcasters, you're going to have a low fortitude and reflex saving throw. as well as low AC. And now we come to the last class for this video, the Wizard. Wizards have the Arcane list, which makes them great for offense. They're also really good with meta magic feats and recalling knowledge, especially divination wizards. However, wizards have one of the most complicated subclasses in the entire game. In fact, I think they're second only to oracles. Also, the Arcane list isn't great for teamwork, although they do have some options depending on your school of magic. And just like Sorcerer, you're gonna have low defenses. And finally, the feats you pick as a wizard are largely gonna depend on what spells you pick for your book. Alright, if you want me to cover other classes besides the ones in the core rulebook, let me know down in the comments. You can also check out the links in the description below for my Patreon, my Facebook, and my Twitter. If you want the pros and cons of the other 7 classes in the core rulebook, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, teamwork is vital.